All right, that's enough dumb humor. Let's
Yes.
let's move on to our contemporary movie review,
Yes.
The Equalizer 3, aka the Punisher movie that Disney doesn't have the balls to make.
Yes. um, now I have not seen Punisher 1 and 2. Have you?
You mean Equalizer 1 and 2?
Or Equalizer, sorry.
I hadn't either.
Yeah. And you really didn't need to see the first two movies?
No, the only thing that struck me as a continuity nod was uh, uh, was Dakota Fanning's character apparently being the daughter of a character in a photo that looked like it was taken in one of the previous movies.
Yeah.
So I wondered if uh, I, I wonder if that actress had passed away or just wasn't able to be in this movie to kind of be
Yeah.
his handler.
Yeah, I don't know. We may have to go back and watch the first two movies. But D. Rhino says, yeah, he things are good. He likes the first one.
I'd kind of heard that the first one was like more beloved than the second,
Yeah, yeah. But
but this one stands quite well on its own.
yeah,
So like all you really need to know is that Denzel's character McCall, what's his first name again?
Robert McCall.
Robert. I got confused because he kept identifying himself as Roberto to people because he was in Italy at the time.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So Robert McCall. Uh, this is a gory, not it's gore, yeah, gory, but brutal,
Brutal. Yeah.
brutal movie.
Yeah. 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 So like, let's get into the plot a little.
Yeah.
So the movie starts with where Dean Randall says the third's great, but the greediness of the first one is too. Okay.
Wait, did they tone it down for this one? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So Robert McCall. The movie starts off where we're in a vineyard in Sicily, and Denzel Washington's character Robert McCall. He's made his way through there, taking out everybody there because it's obviously a criminal enterprise there operating there under the guise of being a vineyard.
Yep. And the way they introduce this fight scene is interesting because you see the aftermath.
Yeah.
Because you have the guy who owns the vineyard, like he's like got himself a was he holding a shotgun? I know his grandson later had a shotgun.
Yeah, his grandson had a shotgun. I think his son had the shotgun and he had a handgun.
Okay, so it's like he's going through the house and you find all these dudes who have just been horribly murdered, one
Yeah,
after the other.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But uh, what do you call them?
I guess like yeah, like a
Like,
kitchen knife pinning them
like-
to a table like they're a butterfly in a collection.
yeah, yeah. It's just very very gruesome scene. Um,
Okay, yeah, I knew grandson had the shotgun. I just
yeah,
couldn't remember if they both had shotguns. But he comes in and there's McCall sitting down,
yeah,
being like with two guys keeping a beat on him with pistols.
yeah. And he's kind of cleaning himself off and just like yeah. And the only reason that you know why he's there is because these guys have took something that didn't belong to them, and he's there to get it back.
Yep.
And so then he does this little equalizer trick where he's got his watch and he says, "All right, you got 9 seconds."
And the 9 seconds run out, and whew,
Yeah, yeah. The revolver through the eye socket.
yeah,
Yeesh.
that was yeah. Yeah, we're not
Man.
we're not going to give away all the kills, but this is like this movie's on Netflix. This is like the first 5 minutes. Like this, that's just to give you a hint. If you're squeamish, this
Yeah.
movie may not be for you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, so then he dispatches the rest of the bad guys, and he's walking out with a backpack full of something. Don't know what's in there.
Yep.
And then the grandson is still in the Land Rover with the shotgun. Although he doesn't, although Robert doesn't see the shotgun, he just sees the grandson in the car, and he tells the kid, "Hey, stay in the car."
The grandson says, "No, I would rather shoot you in the back
Yeah,
if that's
and
okay with you."
yes, so Robert gets shot in the back, and then we see him on a ferry going over to Napoli, Naples, and of course, as he's driving, he loses consciousness, and then he gets picked up by a cop and dropped off in this little coastal city called Altamonte.
Altamonte, yeah,
Altamonte.
which I believe means old mount. It's either old mountain or high mountain.
Yeah. Um, and what's really interesting is I actually went and Googled it. There is an Altamonte, Italy,
Hmm.
but it's actually not on the coast. It's further inland. Um,
Which makes sense for yeah. I'm guessing that means high mountain.
yeah, and yeah, so they actually filmed. It looked like they filmed it on the Amalfi Coast. Which, if you know anything about Italy, the Amalfi Coast is that's where all the rich people live, and
Right.
all the like rich Europeans go there on vacation.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense because that's the side that's the Italian coast that actually has good ports.
Right. Yeah. And so he gets brought in with the into this doctor, and they basically kind of say, "All right, don't tell anybody, what happened to him." And the doctor patches him up, and then so Robert spends the next couple of weeks or so in this little in this very beautiful, very nice, peaceful Italian village that anybody would probably want to live in.
Yeah, it really reminded me of the village from Luca of all places. So
Mm,
it kind of shows you that the people who made that movie actually did some good research and site visits and things like that.
yeah.
Nobody was expecting to hear a straight to Disney Plus Pixar movie mentioned in an Equalizer 3 review, but that's what I kept thinking of.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so he spends a few weeks convalescing,
Mhm,
recovering himself, getting to know the locals,
yeah.
uh, and I heard this at the time that it was released, likened to an old western.
Mhm.
And Daniel, when we were talking about, it, you mentioned that you thought it reminded you of The Shootist.
Yeah, I thought it was very similar to it. Where like John Wayne shows up in this little town, and he's just kind of old guy, and he's just you know
Just
maybe
wants to
maybe
be left
trying
alone.
just wants to be left alone. Yeah, it's very much very similar thing here. Yeah, then Robert Denzel Washington, he just wants to be left alone, and he's just wants to leave as soon as he can, and but then he starts seeing how some of the things happen in the town, mainly mafia types are basically hustling everybody and
Protection money.
protection money. Yeah,
Which I think this is a good time to mention. This practically is a foreign language movie.
yeah, it is. Yeah, a lot of Italian. Yeah,
Like, so if you aren't fond of subtitles, then I don't know what to tell you. More in
yeah,
Italian.
yeah, yeah. um, but and then so that's kind of the A plot, at least in the first two acts, and then we've got the B plot where uh, Denzel calls up Dakota Fanning in the CIA. So Denzel and Dakota Fanning are
Reunited, and it's so
reunited. Yeah,
funny that we watched there are only two movies back to back.
yeah, So he calls up Dakota Fanning, who's an analyst for the CIA, and he kind of tells her, "Hey, this vineyard in Sicily is importing wine from Syria," and she's like, "Hmm, okay,
Well, why would they be importing? Why would an Italian winery be importing wine from Syria?
yeah, hmm,
Turns out, drugs.
drug. Yes.
Jihadi drugs with a convenient crescent and star on it to
Yeah.
mark them as jihadi drugs.
Yes. In case it wasn't obvious enough. um, yeah. So they're working that angle of it. And
Yeah. It's also got a little bit of Rebel Moon, aka Magnificent Seven, in it, insofar as uh, the same people who are importing these jihadi drugs are also trying to do. They're basically trying to force people out of their homes to build up, you know, real estate for. I'm guessing more wealthy people.
right. Yeah. They want to basically turn it into another Monte Carlo.
Hmm.
Um, and so when Denzel finds out about this, he decides, because yeah, he gets to know the people in the town. He really likes the town, and
Yep.
he's just like, okay, yeah, yeah. I'm not going to stand for you guys doing this to these people.
When the doom music begins.
Yeah,
It's basically Denzel, who is a former. They don't really say what exactly he is. I'm assuming a former CIA.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, like the assassin hitman kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah. Like I said, this would be so easy to rewrite into being a Punisher movie.
Hmm.
And it's got a lot of classic elements to it. You've got the aging warrior finding a bit of peace, that peace being disrupted, in him raising holy hell in
Yeah,
defense of that peace.
oh yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, yeah, this movie is very yeah, like you're saying, it's brutal, but it's really good. I enjoyed the story very much. And of course, it's Denzel Washington. Like even though it might not be believable that a guy his age could be able to do the stuff he's doing in this movie, but I mean, he pulls it off.
To be perfectly honest, it wouldn't be believable for people most ages to pull this off.
That's true. Yeah,
The man is a force of friggin' nature.
yeah, yeah.
Although, to be fair, he does usually use the element of surprise, and possibly quite often people underestimating him because of his age.
Right. Yeah.
And the villain they got in this is a bastard. I don't want to necessarily talk about all the crazy stuff he does, because that
Yeah.
would be because he doesn't really enter the movie until like the second half, so that would constitute some spoilers of some of the more impactful scenes.
Yeah, yeah, but he is vicious. Um and it kind of I guess it kind of proves the point that if you're going to have a really vicious bad guy, or if you have a protagonist who's known for kind of his brutality and viciousness, you got to have a villain that's equally brutal and vicious.
Right. Say one of my issues with the Snyder cut of the Justice League movie was that scene where Superman, for no reason, burned off one of like half of Steppenwolf's head, like burned
Oh,
off one of his
yeah.
horns,
Yeah.
when he had him pinned, and it was clear he was not a threat to Superman.
Yeah.
It's got it's got to feel proportional, and these bad guys earn all the things that Denzel does to them.
Yes, they do. Yeah. Yeah, as Chinga said, Denzel turned into a straight on slasher villain near the end, and yeah,
For sure.
yeah. And D Rhino says that he's gonna buy the trilogy. Yeah, I might end up buying it too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really funny. I so I often use Fandango when I to go to the movies, and I bought my father and I tickets to go see Aquaman 2.
yeah.
And they always do this thing like you get enough tickets, and oh, here's a $5 credit for your next tickets, and it always ends up expiring before I get a chance to use it.
Ah,
Because there's never another movie I want to see in like the 3 week window or whatever you get.
yeah.
And then I noticed, oh, Fandango owns Vudu these days, and I can use that $5 credit towards the current movie. Oh, I know. I'll buy Equalizer 3. I heard good things about that. And oh, I'll just to make sure Daniel doesn't have to buy it. I'll figure out how to give him access to my account, and and then I
Mm.
turn on Netflix, and there it is. I don't know if it must have just dropped after I bought it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's dope.
Dope. So I'll give the benefit of some of the behind the scenes features I access that aren't on Netflix.
Mhm.
They did have a little thing where you had Dakota talking about working with Denzel again for the first time since, or what was that movie we did last week again?
Man on Fire.
Yeah, for working for the first time together since Man on Fire. And she said that like working with Denzel, he kind of keeps you on your toes, and her body remembered what it was like acting opposite from him.
Yeah,
So it sounds like he's intense.
yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Yeah. Yeah, there's another one of his movies, Remember the Titans. I don't know if you ever saw that.
I have, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, there's a scene in there where he's talking to the guy who played Turk from Scrubs.
Hmm.
And they're talking about, oh, you think football is fun? Yeah, yeah. Oh, you really? And they have this like whole back and forth type thing.
Hmm.
And I just love to hear the audio commentary, maybe from whatever his name was that played Turk and Scrubs, and say, oh man, that scene was so hard to do.
Yeah. Mm. They kept having. I peed myself 3 times.
Yeah, yeah.
But so I'll say that from a directing perspective, if we compare it to last week's movie, way less experimental. Like
Oh
this,
yeah.
like it was possibly a little bit indulgent in places. And if I have a criticism, the
Mhm.
first 20 minutes is a little bit slow and
Yeah.
plotting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, the Antoine Fuqua directed it, and I believe he directed the first two. I'm trying
Okay.
to think, what other movies did he direct? Uh, uh, he did that one. He did one of the White House movies that was like a
Oh, the
Die
White
Hard.
House Down ones.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Um.
Yeah, 2004's King Arthur. Oof. I guess that
Oh, that's right. I remember that movie.
I guess that shows that you can always recover.
Yeah. Well, he usually works with Denzel Washington.
Okay, he did Olympus Has Fallen.
Okay, that's the one. Yeah, Olympus Has Fallen.
Southpaw. He did the Magnificent Seven remake. Gee, I wonder
Oh.
where the Western influences came from for this movie.
Oh, yeah.
He also did Infinite. Hmm.
Hmm.
The Guilty. Oh, he a lot of movies he's come out with. Oh, he did that Emancipation movie with where uh, where Will Smith pretended he's a real actor.
Oh, yeah, that movie.
Uh, and note, I don't. It's not like he's. Not like Will Smith is an awful actor. I'm of the opinion that's like possibly sometime around when he got together with Jada, he decided he had to be a real actor when his
Mhm.
real strength was always, you know, being that charismatic, comedic, lovable lead. And
Yeah.
he started doing things like 7 pounds and things like that.
Yeah, and, The Pursuit of Happiness, and yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Pursuit of Happiness at least looked like it was using his strengths from the trailers. I never actually got around to seeing it.
I didn't either. Well, that one was based on a true story.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But I guess what I'm saying is we have wandered off the point here,
Yeah,
but
yeah, we have, yeah. Yeah.
it's a director. It comes from a director with a wide-ranging catalog.
Yes. Um, yeah, and, what was I gonna say? Well, I would just, what's that?
Oh, and we're not saying it because it's spoilers, but the thing that didn't belong to the guy he killed in the first scene does have a
Oh,
satisfying ending there too, and it just kind of shows you
yeah,
why he's kind of a superhero already, even if
yeah,
he because I could see Frank Castle doing that.
yeah,
Like if they ever decide to stop pussyfooting around and make themselves a R-rated Punisher movie, yeah, bring in this guy. Like you bring in Fuqua. Like he's
yeah.
good.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
He'd be able to get the tone perfectly.
Yeah, I think so too. I Yeah, this was, I mean, not a great movie, but it's certainly one of the better movies from last year. I mean,
Yep.
um, I can see why the this franchise has the following that it does. Yeah.
Yep. Well, I think that we have equalized that topic.
Yes.